You're live there. So we're just feeling like gentlemen.
All right.
Cheers, everybody.
We're rolling, baby. All right, Sticky, we're live.
3, 2, 1. Hey, this is Lewis Howard. Thank you for joining us for another podcast edition of Lewis Howard Live. And for the first time, we are live. So you can join us on Facebook Live if you are on that. Go to Lewis Howard Live on the Facebook. And you can go to Lewis Howard Live Inspirational Recipes for the Soul on YouTube. And I think we're on Twitter as well. And I'm jacked about tonight's show because, we're going to talk about what everybody's talking about. I was out Friday and I had 2 conversations, vaccines and real estate, right? So we're going to talk about that tonight. And we're excited about that. Just shout out to, we have reached over 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube page, and that's awesome in less than 45 days. And you guys have done 10,000 views of me cooking, inspiring, and doing the show. So we appreciate that. And we want to keep taking it to the next level for you and make it fresh and make it rain. So we are excited. We've got 2 professionals in the house tonight that deal with this every day. So, I feel like I'm kind of an old school dude, but they are doing it fresh. They're working with buyers and new construction, builders, lenders, you name it, they'll be touching it. So we really want to talk about that today because I think it's a conversation that needs to be had because you got half the market waiting for it to crash. The other half is, I won't say it, got frustrated and mad about it. And so we want to talk about both those conversations and just kind of see that. So that is tonight on Lewis Howard Live. We're going to take a quick break on our channel and we'll be right back. And then we'll introduce our guest and we'll just kick it out. We're going to go straight. No commercial break tonight. How about that? We'll just go straight for 45 minutes and have a conversation with you. We'll be right back after these messages.
All right. Cheers, people.
Beautiful. Nice one. So shout out to your family.
Hey, everybody, whoever's
What's up?
there. Hey, how are you?
What's up to our people on YouTube and Facebook? Send us some emojis while we're chilling up. Let us know you're watching and put some comments up. I'm a little bit away from the monitors, but I'll try to see if you put any comments in the chat. And we want to hear some interaction because some of you watching, I know, are realtors, consumers, buyers, and sort of part of the conversation. So you can actually join in and be a part of it. So we'll look for that and keep you part of it. So, all right, 3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome back to Lewis Howard Live. As I told you, we got a show about real estate, housing, finance, new construction, frustrated, pissed off buyers, brokers, idiots, and everything in between. So let me turn to my right and introduce our guest that's going to be really our experts and insight on this tonight, right? So to my right is Tom Skepateris, who is the Vice President of Builder Services for Alchemy. And Alchemy is the region in the Seattle area, the largest builder services team. What that means is that they represent more builders. They have more listings, more new home listings in the Seattle area. And so dealing with buyers every day. We get to work together again, so it's kind of exciting. There's a long story, and there's no time for the show to do that.
Don't worry, everybody. We'll find out who Lewis really is.
Just take my word from it, folks. It is worth just the price of admission to have him on. Okay.
And that's all.
And thanks for the introduction.
And next to him is Omid with Homebridge. And Homebridge has been in the area, so Homebridge, who was they before, right?
So it was Home Street Bank before.
That's right, Home Street. So most people know Home Street, which went over to Homebridge. And I have been just giving Omid a hard time. We've known each other for a number of years, but he got some rankings, and I got to read them because I feel like it's like the bio. So I must read these, right? Because they just got sent over to me today. So let me find
that's weird. You left that
bio. Yeah, we don't need one. Omid has been named the 1% all mortgage originators in all the U.S. from all mortgage companies consecutively for 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. Get you some of that.
Wow,
right?
That's why you.
And Omid also is a top 10 lender for purchase transactions in King County for 2020. Omid CMA certified mortgage advisor, background in personal finance, and 30 years of experience. I can personally tell you he's also a car guy. They should have added this onto the list. So is Tom as well. So that, that's what we really want to know.
That's right.
I feel left out from this introduction.
So Tom feels left out. So Tom has, we're going to count probably 20 plus years.
24 or 25.
24 plus years just working
Something like
in
that.
new construction, builders,
Services.
and then you're doing production. So you have a role in but you're also working with buyers.
I'm a little bit different for sure. So one thing I do is where I'm representing most of the builders in the city of Seattle at any one time, and I'm actually in the car with buyers, anywhere from 30 to 50 a year, where I'm in the process of writing offers, going through exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
So that's what you really want. You want real people doing real deals that's got real credentials. Credentials are great, but then it's like, what have you done for me lately? And the millennials, they're quick to call you old school. They'll look at your resume
I'm old school,
real
but they still
quick,
work with me.
right? But I always say if it wasn't for old school, it wouldn't be new school. So
That's
just
right.
shut up and sit down and let's roll with the thing, right? So let's talk about the market. I'm trying to figure out where to start. Let's start with some statistics because I'll try to do this proper. So as a member of the MLS, we get these statistics that come out. So we're gonna call this like the dry, teacher subject. Then we're gonna get into
Numbers don't really matter.
the real discussion, right? So median price, this is like residential and condos was like up 15%. Median price they said closed at 512,000. So first of all, does that reflect on what you guys have done? Is 512? Does that sound like a number that's even close to you?
Not even close.
Not even close. Okay.
Not in our district.
Okay.
So when you take Northgate, the Northgate Mall area down to the Columbia City area,
Right.
the central area, it's completely different.
All right. So we're gonna call that fake news number one.
Yes.
All right. Next. So then we got sold. So we say, and again, folks, this is from Northwest MLS. If you are a consumer, you wouldn't have access to this. Those who watch me, they're realtors or Linda members, you're going to have access to this. So Northwest MLS brokers sold 5,812 homes, residential homes and condos during February, which that's not surprising, right? Because there's more residential than condos anyway.
For sure. For
Right?
sure.
And given the fact that condos, there's hard to get, well, first of all, it takes a long time to get a tower to market. And two, condos still dealing with warranty stuff that, builders can still get sued. So there's a little bit of a issue with that. But let me ask you, Tom, because you're representing and building stuff in Seattle that looks like condos to me,
That's what people think, but they're not.
right? But they're structurally, so what are they?
They're
Describe
connected
those.
homes. They're connected homes. But what I really want to go back at is when you're looking at your statistics here,
Yeah.
is we really have three different markets in the marketplace.
Okay.
You have the resale market, then you have the new construction market, and then you have the condo market. Completely different markets. So depending on what side you're on, it'll be what you think the market is based on that.
So that's where the rubber sort of separates right there, right? Because most people think of it as residential, commercial, right? And so they lump everything together. Well, you're saying, okay, so build a new construction, that's a different market. So that would
That's
be a
complete different
sub-market
market.
to,
Yeah, the sub-market to the person that doesn't want the townhomes. Now, the townhomes and the residential homes are different. The residential homes, you're looking at older homes, depending on how old they were. You might have to do a little bit of work. They might be remodeled. Then you have the new construction homes where you used to have one home, and then all of a sudden now we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now all the way up to 50 in some developments.
hey, if you're just joining us, we are talking about the hot market, Seattle, US, right? I didn't add in my monologue, but there's 1.4 million realtors by registration, National Association of Realtors. And as of last survey, there was 140,000 listings. Right? So you got all
A
these
little bit of a shortage.
little bit of a shortage, right? In Seattle, we're talking about less than a month's supply. Right.
3/4.
And there's roughly 18,725 realtors that are member of Northwest Multiple Listings. Somebody getting left out,
A lot are.
right? So we'll put a pin in that, circle back to that. So in volume, we got 3.58 billion. So that, again, that's just lumping everything together. But none of this really means anything to a buyer. This is all good statistics for us internally where we can measure the market. But if I'm a buyer and I've lost out, in 5 or 6, do I care about these statistics, right? They kind of they don't matter as much to the buyer. I think it's for companies to measure how well they're doing. I think it's for agents to measure how well they're doing. But we're talking about a hot market. These statistics really are, not really relevant. I was trying to get on Seattle Bubble. You guys remember Seattle Bubble?
I do, yeah.
And Tim, the negative pessimist, he stopped writing. I couldn't find anything last post. I think they pessimisted him out of the business, whatever it is. But I couldn't find anything since November.
Yeah.
But he's usually that kind of lightning rod for the other side of it. And so I was not able to do that. But so let me start, Tom, start with you. Just give me your perspective where we are. You deal with this every day. What are you seeing in the market? I mean, how are you defining this market? And where do you think it's heading in the next, 6 months? I mean, the rest of 2021.
What I see after however many years I've been doing this, which is a long time, like Louis said, over 20 plus years, it's probably the craziest market that I've seen and been part of. And I've been part of lots of crazy markets, and I've been part of down markets. This one's different. In my opinion, Omid will kind of chime in on this, and we've had this conversation daily, where the interest rates are, where the money is. Seattle, actually, what people have forgotten right now, Seattle is actually a big city now. Right. We have people with money. We have people with lots of stock options that are able to purchase, and then you throw the low interest rates, and it's creating this frenzy right now.
Right.
Is there a bubble? Maybe. Is it going to change? I don't think so, not anytime soon.
So on that, I don't necessarily think there's a real estate bubble per se, not the way that people think about it from 2007, 2008. The issue back then was there was an overabundance of inventory, and there was an overabundance of readily available loans that if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan.
Right.
Stated income, stated assets, stated, all that. At this point in time, we need your firstborn in your DNA before we give you any money, and you have to have your own dough to the deal, right?
Okay.
And so from that perspective, I don't think there is that kind of a bubble, but.
And yet, here's a headline. The housing market is on a sugar high.
Yeah.
Housing sales are soaring, but it's a good time to buy. This is for Housing Market Watch prediction for 2021.
Well, if you don't buy now, you're going to pay more later.
Right? So sugar high. So that to me speaks of bubble.
Yeah.
Right? Because sugar is not a substance, it's not a brick.
Yeah.
Right? So what they're trying to suggest, this is a.
To track our market here in Seattle, if you actually tracked over the last 10 years, say, this is like I tell this to buyers all the time, and I use the exact example. I dip, but what's my hand doing? It keeps going up.
Yeah.
All right, we may dip, but we're coming back.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right now. And it's going to happen. It'll dip a little bit. But if you don't get in now, you're going to lose the low interest rates. The rates are going to go back up eventually. And that's what people need to remember. Yeah, you're paying a little bit more now, but here's what I tell clients in real life, in real time. If you're buying for the 2-year period, don't buy. If you're buying for 15, 20 years, it's okay to pay $50, $60, $70,000 more. It's not that big of a deal because you will recoup it for the most part. It's not a guarantee. Obviously, there's no guarantee in real estate.
Sure.
But you better be on a long-term buy, not a short-term buy. So if you think you're being relocated, if you think you're going to change jobs, whatever, don't get in the market right now. You're better off to rent. But long-term, it's a smart bet.
So let's talk about the real estate elephant in the room called the pandemic.
Yeah.
Why, in you guys' opinion, why is the real estate market bucking the trend that everyone else is?
Back to low rates.
I can talk to that.
Okay. I'm gonna give you that. Okay, go ahead.
So essentially what you have is pandemic or otherwise, there's a ton of demand for houses, and it's all being driven by our jobs market. So as long as our jobs market is a strong jobs market, we will attract talent from all over the world, all over the country. As those folks get here, they are properly or overly, that can be argued, compensated for what it is that they do. There's lots and lots of money on the table, and at the end of the day, that's really what is driving that, is that they have the money to buy. Couple that with the fact that interest rates have been at historic lows for as long as they have. We keep saying rates are going to go up, and they have finally now gone up.
I look at the market still going up.
Sure. In the last 35 days, we are now in a place where the market has gone from, say, 2 3/4 on a 30-year fix to 3 1/4 in a 30-year fix. So it's gone up half a point in a matter of about 40 days. Right? And so that will have effect on buyers' sentiment. That will have effect on buyers' emotional state on buying. However, it's not stopping it because of the fact that the stock market keeps doing what the stock market's doing.
Let's also remember, a lot of people were in what they felt were smaller houses. Now with everybody working from home for the last year, now people wanted, the rates are so low, they want something bigger. I will tell you what, when you ask the question, the COVID or whatever we've been dealing with for the last year, if you would have told me a year ago, I would have had a record year. I would have said, yeah, okay, right, the whole city shut down. But the real estate market was shut down literally for maybe 3.5 weeks. I was one of the lucky ones out there. Me, same thing, lucky, Lewis, lucky, if you're in that real estate market, that's the market that really was driving everything. If the real estate market would have shut down completely, imagine where we'd be right now. So you do have the haves and the have-nots to an extent. I don't want to really give it that analogy, but at the end of the day, it's that analogy really is what it is. It's who has the money in the bank to cover these low appraisals, who has money in the bank to offer more on property, and we get into what I've just experienced several times in the last 3 days of what a house was worth a month and a half ago to what somebody had to pay 2 months later. And if you actually do your research, any good agent, any buyer that's out there, only thing I can tell you is make sure you work with an awesome agent and a great lender. Me have been working together for 5 years now in terms of working together straightforward, where he's an exclusive lender that I recommend. And it goes a long way, because if you don't build an offer to win, it's pretty crazy. But a good example is in West Seattle. You take a little 1,100 square foot house, great shape. 2 months ago, month and a half ago, it was priced at $685. That same house basically came on the market the other day at $725. So great, sold it for $685 2 months ago. New agent listed it for $750 or $725 a month and a half later.
That's the right game.
Yeah, that's the right game.
Yeah.
Exactly. 14 offers. I wrote an offer up. 14 offers came in. I thought I had a great offer after I released $100,000, $60,000 of earnest money. Went up to $799, went up from $725 to $799. I knew we were kind of light on the price, but if you would have told me what that house sold for, and I'll give you a guess, Louis, what do you think that 1,100 square foot house by the junction that was priced at $725 2 months earlier, a similar house sold at $685? Where do you think the price went?
In West Seattle.
In West Seattle, by the junction, a nice location.
800.
820.
951.
Oh my goodness.
So you tell me where the value went in 2 months. How did it get up that high? Well, interest rates again, demand. People want single family homes. That's where it is.
So here's the thing on interest rates, right? Just mention that. I want to continue to get your thought on this, because if you don't have money available in the marketplace, there's no market, right? There's only so much cash, right? I think roughly less than 10% of deals are cash. Eight. So, right, that means everybody's fast. So it says National Association of Real Estate, I don't know why realtors are even saying, I don't know why I'm doing this, but rates at average of 3.1%. And the Mortgage Bankers Association says mortgage rates average 3.3% in 2020. I just don't like realtors talking about something that belongs to money. That's just.
God bless you. Thank you for
that. When I talk money.
These rate estimates are up from 3.0%. So is mortgage the driver?
The mortgage is the driver because the affordability is here.
Okay.
Right? And the fallacy here is that people are making these decisions based on, really the ability to justify all this. They're not.
Right.
Tom makes a great point in that when somebody who's a buyer goes out there and perhaps doesn't listen to what the offer should be because they think that, hey, I want to make a lower offer, they lose the first one, they lose the second one, they lose the third one, with the fourth one. By the time they get to the fifth or sixth offer, they are completely and totally going all in. And that's why this real estate in West Seattle got listed at $725 and went at, what, 9 something?
951.
That's 951. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So we are seeing some of these things. So the rates helps buyers justify, but it is pure and it's pure emotion at this point. It just is.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you how fast these buyers change. The buyers that I was just talking about, the loss on the West Seattle home, literally that night, we wrote up another offer on another location where these buyers now, where with the price of the house was $725, we offered $799 on this last one that we lost. We released $60,000 of earnest money. We had no contingencies whatsoever, and we closed in 22 days, or wanted to close in 22 days. That's a big offer for a normal buyer. Well, we lost. We go to a different location. Here's how the buyer's mentalities change. Same house, similar house in a different location, priced at $775. We offered all the way up to 880,000, and all of a sudden, I just released $100,000 of earnest money to the buyer. We ended up winning. So
Hey.
from losing 2 hours earlier to
Yeah.
winning that next morning.
Hey, if you just joined us, we're having a conversation called the housing market unplugged, right? And I've got Tom with Alchemy Real Estate joining us, and I'll meet with Homebridge. And I think, what a great pair. A guy that loans the money, a guy that sells the houses. Good. And my unofficial role is the guy that has to count the bodies when this thing goes badly on the other side of that as a designated broker. But so let me bring up another subject. This word called wave, and I ain't talking about wave band, wave like Miss America. I'm talking about wave. This is like the number one word next to multiple offers that I'm hearing on a regular basis. Wave, wave, and wave. And I think one of you mentioned about this emotional high, right? So now we got buyers that they're waving their firstborn. They're waving, future income. They're waving everything. I'm gonna probably exaggerate a little bit, but where do we draw the line here? Like with waving?
Yeah. Let's get back to the new construction. That's where that's the unknown market, not an unknown market right now, but for all these buyers that are losing, paying more, there's about a month and a half worth of inventory, the new construction. If you can just go a little bit smaller, there's a lot of product out there in the city, all over the city, that you're not going to be competing with somebody. And one thing that we in Alchemy do, and Alchemy Real Estate here, is we do a lot of pre-sales, meaning homes that are not 100% done right now. They may not even be on the market. You start chasing those homes, you're not going to be competing with anybody, because in the new construction world, we have 5, 6, 7 homes to sell. So we're not doing the multiple offers as you might see. Right. We do from time to time, and that goes crazy too. But come back to that new construction market, and you'll see a big difference. And you'll still pay a decent amount, but you're not going to overbid for it. Not overbid for it, but you're not going to have to bid higher just to win it, because usually you're not going to be competing with anybody.
Okay. So that provides an alternative, but I mean, let's say, okay, that's your alternative. I can go there, but if I'm not, I mean, I'm still in your world. I'm coming to you, and I'm waiving, what we call 22A, appraisal. I'm waiving a lot of this stuff. Is there a time you look at a loan and go, this is crazy? They just
so here's the thing. So depending on what number of offer that buyer's in. Right. That emotional investment into the process and the transactional fatigue, which is a very, very real thing for buyers, right? It forces them to a place where I'm going to waive inspection, I'm going to waive appraisal, I'm going to waive financing, I'm going to waive, right? And it's not for everyone. And the idea here, really, at the end of the day, is that, hey, I can waive everything because I've got enough cash to buy this house as is, right? Even if everything falls apart. That's the idea, right? But really, what it comes down to is I'm going to waive these different things to make my offer looks great to the seller, so he'll pick mine, and then I'm going to sit here and roll the dice and hope to God that the appraisal isn't coming short.
Right.
That I don't
Not
lose
unless
my
you're
job.
working with me.
That I don't lose
I've
my
already
job.
done that research.
Lose my job somewhere along the way.
right.
And all the different things that end up happening the right way. So it certainly is. I mean, and again, we're unplugged here. So it certainly is a risk. It's a calculated risk, and this is where every buyer out there really needs to be having a really deep discussion with their lender and with their realtor about what does it mean if I waive all this.
And that's exactly right. And I will piggyback off again. I said that a little bit earlier today, and I tell my buyers this all the time. I work
Did
with
you just
all
tell me I
kinds
was exactly right?
Well, I'm going to say that in a second.
I got this on video.
Ding, 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 ding.
But just listen to this right now. This actually leads into this, where I said work with a good team, whether it's a lender, and I work with a lot of lenders. And I say this to my buyers every single day that I write up an offer. If you use Omid, I will risk every penny that you have out there. And I say that honestly because I know it's going to close, right? If you call loans.com and I'm going to talk to 72 people in one transaction in 3 different time zones through a 1-week period, I'm not going to risk anything for you because I can't control that transaction. I mean,
Rocket Mortgage would be one of those.
They have great rates, but you know
mind.
what? You'll talk to 7 different people in 7 different time zones, and neither of them talk to each other.
J.G. Whitworth comes to mind.
Remember that?
Exactly. Right? So
So
a few
again-
of these things that come to mind here when you're. But it is about relationship.
It's 100%. This
That
business
you
is
do need.
relationships.
Right. And this is a problem though, because when you come from the tech industry, it's not about relationships, it's about talent.
It's about
Right.
credits.
I can create a product and that's where I shine. I don't have to like you. I don't have to live with you, do nothing with you.
Yeah.
Right, but real estate doesn't function that way.
It doesn't.
Not at all.
It doesn't. And Louis, you bring up a good point, because let's go back 30 years, right? And wisdom and experience counted for something. My dad told me to come see you because you knew everything about real estate, right?
Yeah, right.
Now, we got into the information age, and that was something. And then we got into the age, unfortunately, of data. And there's so much data coming towards all these buyers.
Right.
I feel their pain. There's
Right.
so much data coming at them, and they do data analysis for a living, so they go, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, real estate finances, it's not just about the data. You need somebody who's done this
Exactly.
200 times a year for 20 years to be able to walk you through.
Right.
And I will say, when you're working with an experienced agent or lender, especially in the offer situation, when you talk about relationships, I won offers, maybe not because I was the best one, but the listing agent knew that I had a great buyer.
Right.
So sometimes it's not always about all the money, which it typically is, but at the same time, it's about that relationship that we have. And I've also won offers because Omid was the lender,
Right.
which I don't want to admit, because then he'll
Right. So what we've said is what's driving the market is interest rates. We got relationships driving it.
Yep.
Right. We have
Supply and demand.
supply and demand driving it, and we have
And FOMO.
fear of missing out. We got an emotion driving this.
Yes.
So let's talk about some reactions, right? So if you just joined us, we're talking about this housing market unplugged, and I'm just having this, which I love, having this candid conversation with two people that represent buyers and sellers every day in the market, and we're able to have conversations that you can't have with your realtor, because your realtor can't say this to you because he's going to be afraid, or she's going to be afraid she'll get fired. Or
I
that,
better not work with that realtor,
Right.
to be honest with you.
So let me throw out some reactions. First, we're going to start with buyers. Let me throw out some reactions. You tell me your response. I'm sitting and waiting for the market to crash.
Good luck.
Good luck.
The issue with waiting for the market to crash is like waiting for, whatever, Amazon to reach $700 again.
Right.
That ship has sailed. Our market is not crashing simply because of the fact that we have mountains on one side, water on the other, and I-5 up and down.
Yeah.
Right? We have a huge jobs market. People from all over the world are moving here,
Right.
and they need a place to live. And they are well compensated.
Yeah.
So let's not wait for the market to crash. Let's come up with a strategy that works for you here and now.
All right. We paid 10% over market asking price, and then we found mold in the house. We waived everything. Tom?
Wow, you should have done that pre-inspection.
Okay. So pre-inspection. Well, I'm trying to be competitive. How do I do a I'm trying to waive.
Pre-inspection is ahead of the listing when you make your offer. So when we have these offer review dates, either the seller should provide you with a pre-inspection already that they've done,
Yeah.
because we're only getting 5 days to maneuver here, which most sellers are doing that right now. But if you don't have that opportunity, get out there and do a pre-inspection, spend the $500
Spend
ahead
the
of time,
$500, yep.
way well worth it. Now, you may not have that opportunity to do that, which is why you got to get out there and be looking every day, and you're in the beginning of the cycle of the market. Buyers that just enter the market, they miss the market because they're seeing those offer review dates. They're seeing that house on the 4th day, and then they have 24 hours to make a decision. Well, if your job doesn't allow you to be out there every day seeing everything that comes on the market, don't be in the market, because you're not going to have enough time to do any due diligence. So pre-inspection, pay the money, see it early, be able to do it, and away you go.
All right. So Louis, a follow up on that. So for the last 33 years, King County properties have risen 5.45% year over year, every year.
Okay.
And that means through the dot-com bomb, through 9/11, through 2007, 2008 housing crash, and now through this pandemic, right? So yes, you pay 10% more to get into this house that you love.
Yeah.
As long as you have no plans of going anywhere and you're gonna raise your kids here, you're gonna stay here for a bit, that 10%, you will make that back up in year 1 and year 2. So this is still the right move, but you have to pay a premium upfront that will be made up on the back end.
This is a precursor to Omid's whiteboard session, so you guys all should go.
Well,
through it.
but I also think too that doesn't that go against the mindset, because the generation now, they don't live there that long.
Yeah.
They might live there 2 years.
So,
I remember, we would have stuff that turned over before we were done with pre-sales for something. Like, whoa,
Well, here's another example. I sold a house in Marysville to a client in a pre-sale situation who had lost 4 different times.
could you find your way around Marysville? What the?
It'd be difficult.
Sorry, no offense to anybody that watches.
I will go to Marysville, everybody. I can go
Awesome.
anywhere I need to go.
Listen, he's lying. He took an Uber.
Yeah. And once we get up there, We wrote multiple offers on, residential homes that were a little bit older. A good relationship that I had with the builder, a brand new development that opened up. We offered there was a house that was 669. They didn't want to sell it to us, or actually they agreed to sell it to us, but then they didn't want to sell it to us because somebody had multiple offers. Well, we ended up getting that house for $699. That same house is in framing stages right now. The similar house that's going to be built a couple of months from now is now all the way up at $735. In a new construction market in Marysville, in a marketplace where the average house was $499, and I could not even comp it out at $550.
So you actually bring up another point because, part of my background is the home building industry. One of the things builders hate is buyers profiting off of their equity.
Oh yes, and this builder did.
Okay. And so when they sell a pre-sale and the buyer makes this money before they close, it irks the builder because the builder looks at that's my profit.
Sure.
And you benefited.
But in this particular case, it was actually a win for the builder.
Yeah.
And I told the builder that, which is one of the reasons why I ended up taking it.
Because you were the first one in you established.
Yeah,
so that
pretty
was
much.
good.
Yeah, exactly. So it set the tone. And in new construction, when you're looking at these pre-sales that we're talking about, or you're looking at these homes that are just now getting on the market, if you can be one of those first two buyers, that allows other buyers to say it's okay to buy here. So when you have a 20-unit development or a 13-unit development or a 5-unit development, that first buyer typically can benefit a little bit more potentially, not always, right? But they typically can, because as I always tell my buyers, as much as these builders are great guys, they're not here to build you a house. They don't care whether they sell you a house or me a house or you a house. They just want to make maximum profit, however that's going to be.
Don't demystify that. The people think that. They really want to believe that. All right, a couple more comments and we're going to move on to what the brokers say. Changed our mind after winning a multiple offer. Oh, wow.
Haven't seen that very
What, say that
often.
again?
They changed their mind. They got the multiple
They
offer.
probably waived all their contingencies.
And they
They're not
didn't like
changing their
something
mind.
about the house, and all of a sudden they wanted to get
That
out.
goes back to the having 3 days or 5 days to have their review date. They
Okay.
weren't prepared, but they're not getting out.
So these are not exaggerated. These are real situations that have come up where people are like, I want to get out.
Yep.
Can I keep my earnest money?
I'll make a comment to that. They weren't working with quality agents at that point if they're talking like that.
So you think,
So let's pause on that just for 1 second, because I think this is a great point. I tell every pre-approval appointment that we have, when I hand them the pre-approval letter out, I tell them 2 things. First of all, this is the most nerve-wracking thing you're going to ever go through.
right?
And I stole this part of it from Tom. When you find the right house, you're going to completely panic. And when you panic, you know it's the right place.
Right. That's good advice. That's good.
And
Once
when,
you heard that,
Yep.
get that.
My analogy is I'm a real estate agent today, as I tell my buyers, but once you buy something, I become your
your
therapist.
therapist, right? And so when you need that
Hold on,
therapist,
folks. Let me just, God help you if this man has to be your therapist.
It's the
You're
best
gonna
thing you
need-
go through when it comes to real estate, maybe not something else.
No offense if any of you on, but you're gonna need Ritalin, Prozac, tequila, and probably to sleep in a tent in Arizona by the time he's done with you. Anyway, it's a
Sorry to interrupt.
sidebar.
that's all right. That's all right. So that's the conversations that I think any professional lender and professional realtor needs to understand and really embrace the fact that this is a gigantic emotional decision.
Yeah.
In this environment, and people are losing. And as human beings, we don't like to lose. How many of us like to lose?
Yeah.
And there's people that we work with that have lost, 3, 4, 5 offers, and they're at their wits' end. So definitely, we need to have those conversations up front, so this doesn't happen because you got caught up in the euphoria of this,
Right.
and now you're having the buyer's remorse, which is natural to a certain extent, and you need to be able to talk all that through and remember why you bought this house. First and foremost, a house is almost never an investment first, it's shelter.
Right.
We all need a place to live,
Right.
right? This is really, really important. Then it becomes an investment, and then with the right information, we can certainly see that, hey, if I live here for 4 years and I pay 10% too much, I'm gonna make 10% on the sale of this house.
Mhm.
Now, when I go to sell it, I'm gonna have overrun, so
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Right, and maybe I'll stay a little bit longer.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, and that also leads into where me was just saying about the pricing is, and my analogy earlier about the West Seattle home that buyer that went up to 951, I can almost assure you, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm gonna say this anyways, that buyer.
But that's not allowed. That's not allowed on my show. You
No,
can't
that's okay.
say something you don't know. as a
Well, that
fact.
buyer probably made 5 or 6 offers and
Fake
lost.
news is what we're
Well,
gonna
it's
hear.
5 now. It's not fake news. I'm telling you, this is what happened. That buyer probably lost 4 or 5, 6 times And next thing you know, he was tired of looking,
Yeah.
and boom, he made an over-the-top offer.
Right.
And I've even told buyers, sometimes it's better to make an over-the-top offer and cross your fingers you don't get up there. And I bet you that's what probably happened, because they lost so much and they wanted to have something, they wanted
Sure.
shelter, and they were tired of looking and losing.
All right, so I got a couple more I want to get to, but I want to ask you two separately the same question and get your answer. What do you both like about a hot housing market, and what do you both dislike about a hot housing market?
My dislike is the offer review dates. We have agents and sellers that are inconsistent.
Okay.
You know, they do an offer review date for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, and then they sell the house after 3 days because somebody gave them an off the hook number.
Okay.
There needs to be, and me talked about this the other day, there needs to be some consistency. If you're gonna go to an offer review date, doesn't matter what you listed for, you have to hold out. Because I may say, hey, I have 7 days to go look at this house.
Okay.
And I can't get in because the Saturday and Sunday was booked, and I don't get there. Next thing you know, you sell it from me.
Right.
There
Okay.
needs to be some rules when we do that. That's what I don't like about a hot market.
Okay. So offer review date. Okay. And what do you like about it?
The craziness.
I like the craziness.
Craziness. You know what? It all works its way out.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, I don't say that in a bad way. I just say it in a, it's what, again, goes back to Seattle is a big city, and people don't understand this.
Right.
We are. We're not San Francisco. We're not New York,
Right.
but our pricing getting
We're
there.
cosmopolitan. We're metropolitan.
Yeah, absolutely.
In every sense of the
We're a
word.
big
Exactly.
boy now. We
Yeah,
left the
people actually
big
come to
boys
Seattle and
days.
see us.
This is not Birkenstocks and
No.
Starbucks.
No,
anymore.
it's
Remember when we
Right.
all started 25 years ago,
Yeah,
23?
right,
I don't even know when we
right.
started.
Yeah.
Who came to Seattle?
Right.
All they knew about us was it rains too much.
Yeah, it's not tree huggers and so forth.
No.
So your response.
I guess what I hate about this market, if there's that strong of an emotion, this eBay style sales market that we are in right now. As Tom mentioned, if you say you're going to have a minimum bid of this and let it max itself out, you can't end the auction, if you will.
Sure.
And they do that often.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the thing that I'm not liking about this is unless you have a really great plan in place and good realtors and good lenders on your side, there is the chance that you're not going to be able to win really anything.
Okay.
Right? And so I being someone that bought his first house at the age of 19,
Yeah.
and all of my success has been built on that first purchase,
Wow.
I strongly, strongly believe in home ownership at a very high level. I want everyone to own a
Right.
home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the piece that kind of bumps me out. The other piece that makes me happy is I've set up my mortgage practice to move very, very quickly. And when Tom makes an offer, any of our agents makes an offer, let me know. I pick up the phone. I call the
And
seller.
I'm his main agent, everybody, just so you all know.
There you go. I call the seller. I call the listing agent. I introduce ourselves. I tell them about my 30 years in the business, the fact that we can process and fund and doc draw and then close everything in house, et cetera, et cetera. And that is kind of a high because we end up winning over
Right.
other people.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that I really like is I like to compete.
You know what I like that I didn't hear, and we talked about this, like I didn't hear money.
Not about the money for us.
And I'm so used to, especially
For me,
well, I asked that question, it was purpose, because I want people to know that not everybody that is a real estate professional, mortgage professional, that they don't have what we've termed commission breath,
oh yeah.
loan breath, or whatever your term is. But there's actually people that there are other factors that drive us.
I know with me, a lot of buyers will, or a lot of people and buyers will say, why are you working with me? I'm only looking for a $300 condo. I said, well, what's the problem with that?
Right.
You know, I joke back. I said, you know what? This is my good deed in life.
Yeah.
I love working with first time buyers.
Yeah.
I don't care what the price point is because it's gonna pay itself back, whatever it is. But
Right.
you know what? For me, and what we do, we do so much behind the scenes to put these buyers in homes that they don't even see. They may have all this information out there.
Sure.
Like you say, you know, the house price is $625 and the market's up 11%. But you know what?
Right.
They don't know what's going into those side deals that we're doing
Yeah.
in terms of trying to talk that agent to taking our offer over somebody else's. What you had to do to get their bank statement that wasn't approved the first time to after, or that, you know, I think
Right.
there's a lot of things that go on.
Yeah.
But as I've always told, I may have not said this 10 years ago or 20, or when I first started, but right now, if you're worried about commissions, don't work with that agent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always used to tell people, you're gonna own the house longer than I'm gonna profit off.
There you go. That's actually a great thing.
right?
Yeah.
You know, so my money will end very quickly.
So can we pause on this, because I think this is a great spot to
Yeah.
pause for just 2 seconds for anybody who's listening, who's in the market to buy a house.
Right.
At the end of the day, all lenders, all realtors, they're just not created equally.
Right.
And we have a lot of folks that call that, are 6 months from buying, and the guy's first question is, what's the rate?
Right.
What does it matter what the rate is?
Sure.
It's irrelevant,
Yeah.
right? How much commissions are you going to give back to me? How
Right.
does that even matter? You have not even begun to start any of this
Sure.
yet, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if to any buyers out there, be sure you don't turn this transaction into a commodity, because it
Right.
absolutely isn't. The lowest interest rate on the lowest loan that you can find from Jimmy, who's working out of his mother's basement in Wisconsin off the internet, is going to be completely meaningless when the moving van is in the driveway
Right.
and there's no loan docs.
Yeah.
Okay. Or if that one agent promised you half their commission back, and they don't find out that there is that mold in the
Right.
house,
Yeah.
that you pay 10% more for.
Absolutely.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
the buyer that, what you're like, happens all the time, but the buyer that you said was talking about interest rates with you that I referred to you a couple years ago. He didn't want to use you because your rate was 0.25% off.
Right.
Then we found out he bought a house, that I could have showed him. He
Right.
thought he got a great deal at $3,500 off. I looked at it on me and I said, you know what? I've worked with that buyer before. I could have gotten 10 grand off
With the builder before.
with a builder before.
And I think I want to just add to that. I think what I'm hearing is that there is a lot of information out there, but information doesn't always translate to knowledge.
No.
And
No, because that's the data piece, right?
right.
You need the wisdom and the
Right.
experience to offset the data.
And it's benefited by relationships.
Yeah.
That's a good takeaway, because I think that gets lost in that commoditization of real estate. Buyers have discount breath, like real estate have commission breath, right?
That's a Lewis Howardism.
They do,
Yeah,
man.
that's
They do. Discount. How low will you go? I mean, they come in like, oh man, here we go, right? So those all need to be checked at the door.
Yeah.
When you're really thinking about it, because I think you're right. First and foremost, when we look at housing as a national product, it's shelter.
Yeah.
Right? Because what do we call people that don't have? We call them homeless.
Right.
Right? So that's a big problem in America, because we have people that are homeless. So when you're home full, okay,
You're home more.
right? You're home more. So it really is about that. It's not that I have a commodity and the person on the street doesn't. No, you have a home,
Right.
and that's really what you're buying for your family, for your future, right? So.
Yeah. No, it's for sure. That's what it is.
All right, so I'm gonna give a couple more comments, and then I want to wrap, because I want to get both of your takes on. I think you kind of gave it me, but what would you advise somebody that's just starting in the top of the cycle in the market, and two, where you guys see the markets going? So let me get a couple reactions from brokers. Frustrated.
Oh,
Frustrated.
They're working with the wrong people.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure. I agree with that. Back to relationships.
Losing out on multiple offers.
Wasn't prepared.
Welcome.
Welcome. Fighting with listing brokers.
Better know them a little bit better.
Look at it, he's just like Jeopardy over here, right?
It's better to know them, Alex.
Right?
And you know what? And all agents out there, they're buyers agents. Being a listing agent that I am, and I get calls all day long, get the craziest questions that asked. Before you write up an offer, the smart thing for you to do is call that listing agent and ask him one simple question: what's your client looking for? Right. Is he living in the house? Does he need a rent back? Does he, we always talk about money, and it is, most of the time it is about top dollar.
Right.
But there's that small smidgen. I may not take that top dollar if you let me stay in my house for free for 60 days.
Right. Hey, if you just joined on with Facebook Live, and of course, as you're watching program on YouTube, we're just having a unplugged conversation about the hot housing market with two leading professionals that are in the market every day, lending, Omi with Homebridge, and of course, Tom with Alchemy. And it's just a candid conversation. And it's a conversation that people can't have, because usually when you're approaching one of them, you're approaching them to do a deal. And so this is really an advantage for those who are listening, be able to have this conversation, because there's no skin in this game at the moment. And so we can have this conversation, and hopefully there's no ramifications of what Tom said anything tonight, because we will not own, we will disavow anything he said that comes out of his mouth. But it really is that, because I think it's important to have these conversations. I think, and thank goodness for podcasts and blogs and things like that,
Sure.
that you can have those conversations. I mean, you were telling me like you're a member of a Facebook sort of deal, because I couldn't find buyer comments on this whole thing.
Yeah. There's a Home Buyers Northwest, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And it's a Facebook page that I found a long time ago, and I became
How
a
do you
member.
sign up if you don't have Facebook?
Yeah,
Well, you can't. Welcome to the
stenograph.
19th century.
Western Union.
There you go. Louis, I think when you and I were talking off camera before we started, one of the things that I really thought was important was that you were going to discuss a little bit about what's happening with these kind of overpriced offers and the
Yeah.
shortage of the appraisals and all of those things.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really rich conversation, and I think it was very apropos to what's going on in the marketplace today.
Yeah.
Didn't know if you were going to tee that up.
Yeah, that's a big concern, because that's part of the waiver conversation, and that's part of you own it if it comes in low.
Right.
And then that's where you come in, right?
Right.
So
How you own it is you gotta be prepared for it. If you're
yeah,
prepared for it, it's not
you
about
own
it.
it. 'Cause
Right.
Well, you own it, but you gotta be prepared for
But I
it.
think he's asking, how will you prepare for it?
Yeah, how do you deal with this? How do you have that conversation
Yeah.
with somebody that did that, and now they got to come back to you and go, it came in low?
Sure.
Because
So-
as a real estate agent, prepare them early.
Yeah.
And one thing I do with the buyers, and Omid will do it a little bit differently, is before I write up an offer and I tell a buyer, hey, this house is probably gonna sell for $785. I bring one thing I love about Zoom right now, which I don't like Zoom that much. I'd rather be in person with people. But I'll do a market analysis with the buyer right there on my screen,
Yeah.
and I'll actually show them, hey, look, this house sold for this. This house sold for this. It was bid up this high. So before we even write our offer, he actually knows that a logical appraisal may bring this in. You're paying $825, but it may land at $799.
But I'm also concerned that valuation may not hold, that this may be a trend. I mean, this may be an issue.
Well,
So
but the valuation is any one person's opinion
Yeah.
and any one buyer of your future home that is willing to pay for it. So
Yeah.
that's almost a non-point to me. One of the things that we're doing now, specifically, Louis, is every buyer that is approaching us, that is coming to us from one of our agents, and we're sitting down, we're pre-approving them. If the buyer approaches us and says, hey, look, I'm gonna put 10, 20, 25% down, we're having the conversation with this buyer of, hey, look, I'm gonna get you approved with 5% down. I'm gonna get you approved with 10% down. I know your preference to do a 20% down. That's what we're gonna aim for, but we're gonna approve you for 5 or 10%. We're gonna get that approval letter into the hands of your capable realtor who's gonna make that offer. Your lender is gonna call the listing broker, explain that, hey, you have more money than this.
Okay.
But part of one of the things that we wanna do is we wanna make sure that we have enough money cash on hand to fulfill the appraisal buffer. So if that 825 offer does come in only at 8, then you have the $25,000 of cash, and instead of putting it towards a down payment, you're prepaying in the price of the house.
And if you don't write that offer.
yeah, not only fulfill the buffer, but avoid being in breach.
Well, yeah, about that too.
Right?
Let's not forget, this is all a real
Right,
contract.
it's a
we're talking
contract,
about.
right? And you get in breach if you suddenly say, I thought that was a suggestion. Is that really real? Am I going to come up with another $60,000 in
Right,
my pocket?
right,
So,
right.
Again, it's about preparing everybody. If you're prepared, buyers do understand it, and when they understand it, I think Omid will agree, and you probably will too, is they will do more. They will risk more if they understand what they're risking.
Yeah.
But I would have to say there's probably 80% of agents out there that don't coach their clients, and those clients don't know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And that's when you get into your contract problem. Like you're
Are we dealing with a moral issue at all, do you think, anytime here?
Well, I think we're dealing with an issue of being either a salesman or a realist and a leader, and I'll tell you what that means.
Okay.
A salesman will always try to sell the customer something, right? At this point in time, in this environment, I really see our roles as the pilot that will tell you, hey, folks, you better sit down, we're gonna cancel the drink card because we're gonna hit some bumpy roads. And when we hit them, you're gonna be seated and seatbelt on so no one's gonna bounce up and hit their head, right? Versus the guy who's always trying to please and make sure everything's okay, and now you got the coffee spilled in your lap, right?
Yeah.
We have very, very strong conversations upfront with the buyers. Here's how you could twist your ankles.
Right.
I mean, I tell the clients that I work with ahead of time, as I said, preparing them when I do those Zoom calls, is I tell them, hey, this house is probably going to sell at 800 or say 825, but you know what? It's really worth 775 in today's market because I can't comp it out. So you better be prepared if you want to go forward.
Yeah.
So it's back to reality, just conversations
Yeah,
up front.
and I would say with you, Tom, one of the things I appreciate, because we just did a training with our team, is your transparency.
Right.
Like, you may not like it, but with Tom, you know where you are
Exactly.
at all times, as opposed to what you're saying the opposite.
Right.
If somebody's trying to please me all the time,
Right.
I don't really know where they are.
Right.
I know where I am because you keep telling me whatever I want to hear,
Right.
but I don't really know where you are.
Right.
And you're the person that's got to go in the room. Tom's got to go in the room. As a buyer, I don't go in the room and talk to the seller or the other party.
Right.
So it's like the lawyer who's got to go to the judge. I need to know what this guy's head is, right? And I think that's what we're missing. I think we have a lot of new people, not that, everybody's got to be new, but I think they don't know what to say when the heat gets turned up to 300 degrees and you've never been that hot before.
Today's market being new is not helpful.
Right?
But at the same time, I would say something that all of us were new at some point.
Absolutely.
And when you are new, you need to, find and sit at the foot of the teacher and
Exactly.
listen to what he does and why he does it, and ask lots and lots of questions, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think is missing.
Right.
Because I think new people
Again,
rely
data,
on this device.
Data.
Right? And so they don't rely on these devices, right? These are the better
That's a good
devices,
analogy. I like that.
right? To rely on than this
Tom is the
device.
iPhone 4.
Right? It is, so because they want to think, well, I got the information, I can go on Zillow, I can go on Redfin, and I got everything I need. No, you don't. You really need to sit with someone because you need to understand where the trip-ups are, where the landmines are when you go into this. I have 300 and some agents in all my brokerages, and someone comes up and I can just tell that little smile, just signed my license and I'm 3 weeks new. And I'm like, oh man, good luck with all of that.
Let's get it.
Right. So, all right. So just as a final wrap up, give me your perspective, where do you think the market's going? We got the rest of 2021. We've heard mixed prognostication about what 21 should have looked like when it started out. I think it's bucked every trend that said it was, going to be something that it's really been a bull market.
Yep.
Will that continue?
I think it's going to continue to an extent. I think we're going to level off a little bit, as we get into the summertime. It's not a guarantee that you're going to level off, but you're going to level off a little bit. I don't see prices dropping to the point of where some people are looking for that crash.
Yeah.
The advice that I can give to anybody that's listening, in terms of whether you're a buyer or whether you're an agent, open your horizons. Don't shut off new construction. Don't shut off resales, but really pay attention. Where can you get your bang for your buck?
Okay.
And that new construction world, and again, I live in that new construction world as much as I do in that resale world, but I cannot tell you how many times I'm never going to buy a new construction, or I'm never going to buy a resale.
Sure.
Don't limit yourself.
Yeah, you
Open
buy
your
real
horizons,
estate.
because I'll tell you what,
Right.
I can take into new construction that are 900 square feet that feel like they're 2,000 square feet, and I can take into a 2,000 square foot home that feels like it's 900 square
Sure.
feet. And until you get in there, look at everything, keep looking at everything, look at different areas, and don't rule anything out, because you never know what you're going to fall into. I go through a lot of people, I just tell them, hey, let's go look at this so we can rule it out at least.
That's great. I would tell you, allow me to nerd out with you for just 2 seconds here.
He loves that.
Well, because let's talk about what's really happening, right? So we are in a very pent-up economy right now, right?
Right.
We haven't traveled, we've not gone anywhere, we haven't spent any money.
And fatigue.
Fatigue, right? So all those things, as the inoculations continue and folks get more comfortable to be, hey, I'm going to go and do this, that, and the next thing, buy here, travel there. We're going to see the value of the dollar tighten and tighten. So inflation is absolutely upon us.
Right.
As inflation continues to go up from its current state of 1.8 to 2.1 to 2.5 to 2.8, and from what we've heard from the Fed, they're going to let the inflation kind of go up a little bit, right?
Okay.
So we're going to have an inflationary environment probably until October, November this year. Okay? Now, because of the fact that mortgage-backed securities and where rates come from, they're tied into bonds,
Right.
and bonds are a fixed instrument, meaning that they only earn X amount of dollars
Right.
in rate.
And they're one of the most conservative
Correct.
instruments, right?
That bond holder needs to now go from a 2% bond, which is today, let's say, to a 2.2, 2.3,
Okay.
because he doesn't want to take the decline. From
That's what grandmothers bought, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah.
War bonds, safety bonds, they all bought bonds.
Right, and there's still bonds. You can buy City of Seattle bonds.
Right,
You can buy
right.
City of Bellevue bonds, right?
Yeah.
And bond is nothing other than an IOU.
Right.
Okay, cool. So as that happens, these rates will start to churn up. We're at 3 3/8 today, let's say. We might be in 3 3/4 by the time the year is over, right?
Yeah.
And that's that incline of rate, that jump basically in 1 year from 2 3/4 to 3 3/4 will represent an equivalent to an 11% rate price hike in the house.
Okay.
Now,
Wow.
tie that back in with an 11% actual price hike
Right.
in the house, and now you're in that 22% range.
Yeah.
So buyers need to be smart. They need to start looking at other options. Maybe a 30-year fixed at 3.75 isn't the key anymore. Maybe now a 5/1 ARM is at 2.75.
Okay.
Right? So we have some options, but they need to really be with somebody who knows what they're doing, who can give them proper advice and guide them through all this.
Tom, just back to you. So do you see, are your builders see any change in supplies, materials?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
we are
Okay.
right now. I have builders running to Home Depot to buy appliances right now because there's such a shortage.
That's certainly.
So where everybody was talking about you had a vendor shortage or
Yeah,
a supply shortage, a year ago, you're actually starting to see it now.
Okay.
And it's lumber prices have gone up 20%. I have some sellers that won't pre-sell right now because they can't figure out their cost of what their lumber is going to be. So why do I need to pre-sell? I have other sellers that can't get appliances, and buyers say, hey, you have this GE profile fridge in the model home, but the one over here is the $2 version Home Depot. Well, that's the only thing we could find to close.
Right.
So you're starting to see that delays right now.
Yeah, so for our listeners out there, just know that that's one of the hidden things in the back room that you don't know about that does affect, especially new construction, because
The lumber,
copper, lumber,
right?
those pieces go up,
Yeah.
that price goes up.
I'll throw
And,
another curveball on top of the vendor stuff that most people don't realize we're dealing with. When you're getting into new construction, the city of Seattle is so bogged down because they only have 5 crews working for electric and hooking up your water.
so
They don't have the
utility,
same
that's
crews.
another, yeah.
I have finished homes that have been done and we can't get power to them.
Yeah.
And we can't sell them without power. We can't sell them without water. So we're also dealing with this demand from the city that can't.
And I can't finance them without a certificate of
Right, you
occupancy.
can't service what you sold.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So we have buyers that have walked away from some construction
Yeah.
because it can't work. But again, it sounds scary when I talk about that, but it's really not. I mean, we keep going back to the one theme today. It's relationships. It's working with the right people to understand the market. Whether, doesn't matter what lender you're working with or what agent you're working with or what you're doing. It's just work with the right people to know and be guided the right way.
Yeah. Wow, what a conversation. What an off-plug conversation. And anything else you guys want to add? We're got about 2 minutes left that you guys want to just, you got on your mind. You want to make sure it gets out
Say how
there.
we started.
I want to make sure, well, go ahead. You would like to tell?
I want you to tell that story.
You want me to tell?
I want to tell how I had to beg you to hire me.
Wow. Okay.
Way back when.
I really don't think that's relevant to the off-plug. But all right, for conversation's sake,
Where's
folks,
the teacher and the student now?
is Tom and I worked together for 20 plus years. He was one of my first hires as new
That he didn't want to hire.
site managers back in the day. We both worked for a luxury home builder, and I offered Tom the lowest wage I've offered anybody. I don't think I've ever gone.
And I said yes right away.
And he said yes, which I don't know why he did that, but he did. And he does remind people I was wearing a mink coat at the time, and I had Lexus keys, which, at least you remember.
Goodness.
Yeah, I wish I had a picture, but you know what? Look at us now, though.
You now
We've
look
grown
at, 20-some years later, and he, runs one of the leading builder services company and has done millions of dollars of transactions. And as I said, it's just really like, he's one of those people you want to work with because you always know where he is. And I just think that's important.
Yeah.
I manage 5 real estate brokerages, 300 plus agents, and 2/3 of them, if I had to personally guarantee hiring them, it wouldn't go down, right? Just because I don't know where they are. It's a new breed of people, and maybe I'm getting older, ready for whatever, wheelchair. So, and me and I, we go back to my first big promotion. I did one of the biggest promotions in the history of residential real
Is that when
estate.
you gave cars away?
And just we had these $1 million houses, couldn't figure out how to sell them. And it was who were you with then?
I was with Seattle Mortgage at that point.
Seattle Mortgage. And I'm calling around, and I called everybody I
We're showing our
know.
age right now. We're talking Seattle Mortgage.
Right? But Seattle Mortgage is if you call it a pillar of building this community here, they are
They were the leaders at that time.
they are a great construction lender and so forth. And I just remember calling him because I was out of options. Nobody would say yes to me. And I was like, I'm just gonna call. I don't care, And I was like, can you just put a Benz in front of people's houses, and can you guys finance that? It's a $100,000 car, which concessions normally at that point was about, what were we doing, closing costs?
3%.
3%. So here I want to offer a Mercedes that was roughly 10%. of the stuff. So that's really,
I don't think you can do that anymore, can you?
No, sir, you can't.
Probably not. I think I personally put it into, I think it was a clause that said the Lewis Howard don't do clause
Yeah,
for Mercedes. And then I wanted to do jets after that. I did do a couple of private jets.
you're kidding me.
Yeah, I did private
Thank
jets.
God you didn't call me on those.
Yeah,
I think the
so-
good thing is,
Yeah.
as we're joking around here and playing around, having fun, uncensored, go back to that relationship side of things. You know what? Cheers to you guys. We've known each other for a long time. We've worked together
Absolutely.
for a long time. And,
There you go.
the honesty
Yeah,
and
you gotta
trust.
have to
I gotta take a glass.
We're going to cheers for that. But,
Yeah.
it's a fun. It's
Hey,
why we're like,
Thank you guys for joining us and being part of the conversation. We'll have this obviously up on the YouTube page. You guys got to enjoy live, which is the first time in the history of Lewis Howard Live. And I appreciate that you guys were able to stick with us. And sorry to get to the chat questions, but if you keep those up, maybe actually will send you an email. So if you want to get, so by the way, do you guys want anybody to reach you? You want to actually give your information? Like
soulbytom@gmail.com.
Okay.
Wow, and just my website is omni.net. Pretty easy.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Hey, thank you for being part of the conversation. Join us again. You can catch us on the YouTube channel live. Don't forget my book, Living Up in a Down World. It just hit bestseller status
Look
in
at that. You have the
Canada.
book.
And
Yeah,
so
book.
we're excited about that.
Yeah, look at that.
And,
Can I have a signed copy?
Yeah, actually,
Oh,
you
wait,
get a
I already
signed
have
copy
one.
for
That's
being
right,
on
I
the
have
show
one
tonight.
already.
So we appreciate it. Thank you guys again for being part of the conversation.
Thanks,
We'll see
everybody.
you again. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you again on another edition of Lewis Howard Live. Thank you.